The feud between LIV Golf and the PGA Tour has somewhat devolved into a personal spat between Rory McIlroy and Greg Norman as they continue to take shots at each other. This time around, however, Norman's trying an entirely new tactic to undermine the Irishman. In today's video, we'll talk about the Australian's latest comments about McIlroy and the world number one's opinion on his feud, so keep watching. First off, Norman teases McIlroy with a cheeky comment. Not a day goes by without Greg Norman making his way into the headlines with some controversial comment. And even if he doesn't say something, it's someone else talking about him. The man just knows how to be the center of attention, which, to be fair, is the reason why he's leading LIV Golf as well. Also, if there's one thing we've learned about him over the years, it's that you can never one-up him. Seriously, he's somehow always one step in front and can sometimes be super creative to roast you in oblivion. And guess what? Rory McIlroy's just had a taste of that as well. The Irishman's been involved in the public rivalry for almost a year at this point, starting from passive-aggressive comments about the league to him straight up asking Norman to step down from his position as CEO. On the other hand, Greg has been equally aggressive, except in a much more subtle way. You see, he's got a knack for making tongue-in-cheek comments that are like a bomb wrapped up as a cute little present. So of course, his latest comment wouldn't be any different. Now, in a recent interview with Bunkered, the Aussie was asked about his spat with Woods, McIlroy, and all the pressure they're putting on him to step down as CEO. His response? "Our door is open for everybody. We're not the PGA Tour." What's more, he even specifically name-dropped McIlroy, saying he's always invited to join the league. Yeah, the willy old fox never misses, does he? Up next, Norman's got the full support of LIV's chairman. Now, if you didn't know, McIlroy has perhaps been the Great White Shark's biggest critic, as even when he comes to terms with the fact that LIV Golf was here to stay, he wasn't ready to accept Norman as its leader. In fact, a few years back, he went as far to say that Norman must exit stage left for peace to prevail between the Saudi League and the PGA Tour. According to him, while Norman deserves some credit for successfully driving the ship during the league's inaugural season, his time at the helm was now over. Why? Well, he believed that the Australians just burned all the bridges with the PGA Tour management, so no one's ready to talk to him. Oh, and he even called the two-time major winner immature, saying it was about time he let the real adults sit down and do the talking. Not to mention, Tiger Woods also doubled down on his stance a couple weeks after the Irishman's comments. Interestingly, all this drama was brewing amidst reports that Greg's position as LIV CEO was at risk and that the league was looking to replace him, so that obviously created a whole narrative. That said, we've clearly seen over the past couple of weeks that this is not the case at all, as instead of Norman, it was the coup, Atul Khalsa, who was leaving. What's more, the circuit even issued a statement saying that we're fully backing their man. And now he's confirmed that as well, saying he's got full support from his chairman. Not to mention, Greg isn't going to take the bait anymore. Continuing his interview with Bunkered, the Great White Shark said that LIV Golf exists for the players, so they'll always have an open door, whether it's for McIlroy, Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, or someone else. But right after saying this, he went on the offensive and talked about how Rory and Tiger Woods have no idea what they're talking about. According to him, there's never been any shadow of a doubt over his position as the CEO of LIV Golf League. In fact, he went as far to say that he's got 1,000% support from the tour's leadership. Plus, for him, there's never been a single thing that has suggested otherwise, so he didn't quite understand where these reports were emerging from. Though Norman did sort of point toward why a narrative was being formed around his exit, apparently it's a tactic to bait him out and do something reckless. He said he knew what they were trying to do, adding that they were trying to bait him out and draw him into a public back and forth with him. He also said he's not going to go down that childish path. After all, that's been the case with him and his PGA Tour rivals for the majority of 2022. Despite facing constant controversies, it seems that 67-year-old Trump is ready to relax for a while. However, his recent comments about not knowing what he's saying have angered many, causing him to potentially need to take a step back and calm down. Regardless of the backlash, we wish Trump the best and hope he can take a break from the public eye for a while. What's more, LIV is in a leading position right now. Now, after steering himself away from causing further controversy, Norman went into detail about the future future of LIV Golf and how everything's shaping up for next year. And according to him, he's fully confident, proud, and totally committed to his job. On top of that, he also talked about how he enjoys building out LIV Golf and giving players and fans another kind of golf they can enjoy. The two-time major winner then mentioned the league's rapid progress, saying that the proof is in the pudding. LIV is already a leader for him, while the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour are followers. Of course, being the spokesman and the leader of the upstart circuit, he's going to say that. To be fair to him, though, they have made some insane progress in just a single year and don't show signs of slowing down anytime soon either. So perhaps he is right from a certain angle. Other than that, Norman also claimed he'd spoken with Justin Thomas, who's been one of the targets for a while now. He talked about how they sat down with Thomas and gave him a full presentation about their business. And while he may not have joined their side yet, he's also not saying anything negative. So according to the Australian, that's because JT now finally understands their ambition and intention. Greg then hailed Justin Thomas for not following Rory McIlroy's lead. Moving on, Rory McIlroy gets honest about the golf feud. Now, even though Norman says the Irishman's got no idea of what he's talking about, we all know that's not the case. After all, the world #1 knows the ins and outs of the golfing business and is even a part of the leadership team on the PGA Tour. It's just that he doesn't see eye to eye with Norman, and with him in charge, doesn't see how anyone could ever end this eternal feud between LIV and the PGA Tour. Moreover, earlier this year, McIlroy even said that the game of golf was ripping itself apart due to this massive dispute. And to be fair, we'd have to agree. Just look at the state of things for a sec. The President's Cup, for instance, has always been one of those big events where all the big players come together to compete in a US versus internationals match. In 22, however, LIV players weren't involved. Then there's the issue of the PGA Tour suspensions and, more importantly, the majors. Sure, events like the Masters may have allowed entry to the Saudi League members, but with no golf ranking points, many of these players won't qualify in the first place. Of course, these aren't issues created by LIV Golf. Instead, they're just a product of this rift. Rory thinks there's still more room for flexibility from the breakaway circuit, saying that they need to abide by the status quo, like the OWGR criteria, to fit in. Coming up, McIlroy wants peace between LIV and the Tour. Even though the Irishman may have been a staunch critic of the upstart Tour earlier in the year, he doesn't actually hate it anymore. In fact, these days he's okay with the coexistence, though the PGA Tour Commissioner, Jay Monahan, may have a different opinion on that. Coming back to Rory, though, all he wants is for golf to be whole again. In fact, he even mentioned earlier in the year that he's never wanted a fractured game, but sadly that's exactly what's happening right now. Speaking at St. Andrews, the world #1 also said that this feud isn't good for anyone. Whether you're on LIV's side or the PGA side, no one's gaining anything from it. He said that he did admit that with the lawsuits and everything else that's going on right now, it's going to be almost impossible to mend these broken relationships. So while he's obviously sad about this rift in the game, he doesn't see any way out of them in the short run. Not to mention that's what Tiger Woods also said during his speech earlier this year, adding that the antitrust lawsuit continues to be the biggest hurdle between them and peace. Finally, why does McIlroy want Norman out? Here's a question. If the Irishman doesn't like this feud and wants golf peace, then why does he want Norman out so badly? Like, sure, the guy has been controversial in the past, but is he that much of a nuisance that the Tour can't even sit down and talk to him? Well, turns out there's more to this rivalry than meets the eye. Apparently, they used to have a really good relationship back in the day, as Norman even sent McIlroy an encouraging message after he lost a 4-shot lead at Augusta National in 2011. But right after that nice exchange, the Australian claimed that Rory was brainwashed by the PGA Tour in an interview with Paul Kamaj. And that was where the beef started for the world #1. He talked about how they had a really nice back and forth, and then the Aussie goes out and says those words right after. It was simply unacceptable. So now they're stuck in this perpetual spat. Well, that's a wrap for this video. So do you think McIlroy is being too harsh on Norman? Let us know in the comments below. Also, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this, and we'll see you in the next one.